back to maple syrup history, maple singularity syrup history. Okay, guys, it's so amazing. Welcome, everyone. Welcome people that are, longtime veterans and new people. God bless you all. Thanks for coming. This maple syrup history, which we pour the maple syrup of the extra information on the facts of normal analysis you find other places, making this a class you can find no place but this place.
Goes around and keeps it back and try to.
Yeah, it's time for maple syrup history. Oh, I was down.
Adobe.
That's right. All right, guys. Truth doesn't collapse. I think it's good. Okay, so we are doing Rerum Novarum Part 1. As was discussed before, the break point is artificially done by me, although Pope Leo XIII does say, now I'm going to turn to talking about the state. So, in fact, right at the end, it is sufficient, therefore, to inquire what part the state should play in the work of remedy and relief. That's what we're going to do next class. If you've never been with us, you saw in the intro where I filmed the computer screen. Why do I do that? Because it's cool. Because no one else does that. I say, this is the only place where you can get the extra facts ladled on, as it were, of maple syrup. Maple syrup history. And we've been covering a whole year Christian classics class programming. CCCP USSR, and this is episode number 23. We've been doing 8, or are in the process of doing 8 papal encyclicals. I think this is our 6th one now. I think we only have 2 left, I believe. We're also reading books like Mere Christianity. We just finished Everlasting Man, did Lord of the World in the fall, and we have the last book we begin, I believe, after spring break, end of March, is Walker Percy's Signposts from a Strange Land. So that is what this class is about. Maple syrup history, because it's sponsored by maple syrup. And if you're like, what brand? Like no brand. You will never see crass commercialism on this channel. It's sponsored by actual maple syrup. If you guys remember a previous episode a couple years back, or previous series, Catholicism and Disasters, was sponsored by the Pacific Ocean. So I try to do it the right way. I don't do this kind of nonsense like, buy this or this product code, and we're working on getting the Sun to sponsor future episodes. Right now it's maple syrup history, buy maple syrup. And if you want to know where you can get any of that stuff, that's not what this is, okay? So, Rerum Novarum, I'm going to be looking to my left and to my right because my printer is garbage and printed out only page 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 1 and 2 is on the computer. But let's get to it right away. Rerum Novarum on New Things, 1891, is, as this episode is titled, the invention of Catholic social teaching, socioeconomic, etc. Now, perhaps ... ellipsis, asterisk, in the modern era, the codification thereof, etc. Of course, Catholic social teaching goes back. I'm going to talk about this very briefly, as all things do, to our Lord and Savior himself, to Christ, to what we find in the Gospels. Absolutely. Catholic social teaching, Christian social activity is from the Gospels, from the very origin of the church, of course. But in terms of modernity, modern times, this 1891 encyclical Rerum Novarum that's the deal. So let's talk some contextual stuff. A lot of popes riff off this, or give props to, or make commentary on. In 1931, Pius XI released something called Quadragesimo Anno, 40 years after, obviously. about Rerum Novarum. John Paul II does at least two. Laborum Exercens in 1981, 90-year anniversary, and then Centesimus Annus, 100 years in 1991. That's point number one, that modern popes have really talked about this a lot. Leo XIII, of course, is a modern pope as well, and anyone joining for the first time too, we're doing all these Leonine, Leo XIII encyclicals to see what are the inspirations for our current Holy Father, the 14th, for him taking that name, and his kind of outlook on social justice, whatever you want to call it. That's number one, why it's important, the popes riffing off it. Also look at the context of the world. 1891, the Communist Manifesto, let's talk a lot about communism, socialism, is released in 1848. Darwin's On the Origin of Species, Darwinism, 1859. Friedrich Nietzsche, virulent anti-church, anti-Christian philosopher, 1870s, 1880s. The Industrial Revolution is long underway. This is the age of the world fairs. 1891, when this is released, you just had the Paris World Fair in 1889. The Chicago World's Fair is 2 years after this, 1893. Omaha, 1898. St. Louis, 1904. So very much part and parcel of modernity, and I agree as a historian that we are all children of the 1880s. That if you showed someone from the Middle Ages, like the phone I'm recording on now or whatever, it'd take a long time to figure out what's going on. We're all human. We're all made in the image likeness of God. They'd figure it out, but it'd take a while. Someone from the 1880s would be like, oh, texting, that's like a telegraph. Yeah, I totally understand. You press buttons and it sends a message. We do that differently, but. So it's very much kind of part and parcel of modernity. All right. So let's talk about the principles of Catholic social teaching before we can talk about the encyclical. How we always do this, the way we lather the maple syrup on, is we allow the words to speak for themselves. The Pope here, Leo XIII, is the author, as Chesterton just was for Everlasting Man. But we also provide analysis. This class is so awesome. If I was like a Gen Z, I'm a millennial. If I was Gen Z, like, this class is so lit. This class is lit. It's not mid at all. It's lit. It's elite. But I'm not going to say crap like that. Yeah. But this class is very lit. It's actually litty. You guys. Why am I laughing? I mentioned this in a previous talk I gave once. in the series Mark and Anna Models. When I was at a previous school, the University of Illinois, shout out to Fighting Illini. Their St. John Newman Center is like the largest in America, I think only accepting Texas A&M, which I think has the largest Catholic student body. University of Illinois, my heart doth beat, whatever their colors are, orange and blue. Orange. So I guess not. If I don't even know their colors. No. I'm thinking like, no, orange. Is it orange and like navy blue, orange? But I love the Fighting Illini. We were there for 3 or 4 years, 4 years total. I love the Fighting Illini. Preface, I love everything about Illinois. Illinois is so sweet. If you're ever in Illinois, Champaign-Urbana area, go check out Curtis Orchard in Savoy, Illinois. It's so amazing. Pumpkin picking. You can like ride whatever the small horses are, mules or donkeys. I'm bad at animals. But you can ride them in it's like a real life Ferris wheel. I once said horse puppies and people got very mad at me. But I meant like the baby's horse, they're foals, right? That's what they're called, right? Whatever. At the University of Illinois, I love Illinois so much, but they were trying to get hype for their season once, 2017, their football season. And they were like, welcome to Liddyville. Seriously, that's the connection. They're like, we're Liddyville. Everything we do is so lit. And I remember one of the fans getting so mad because they played like Akron or one of these schools that's just complete garbage in football. And they were almost losing. And like, one guy he's like, how? I can't believe, like we said, welcome to Liddyville, and we're losing to Akron. I was like, that's right. But this class is so lit. This class is actually Liddyville. Let's get back on topic though, guys. Why do you guys always get me off topic? Let's get back on topic. So, principles of Catholic social teaching. Before, once more a recap, 1891, why this is so important contextually, why it's written. Darwinism, socialism, communism, world fairs, Nietzscheanism, a world kind of overwhelmed by the anxiety, the fast pace, which we know will be solved tragically by the coming of the First World War. You got to do something, and the Great War breaks out. Oh no, what have we done? Principle of Catholic social teaching, point 00, Matthew 22, 36 through 40. Christ himself says, right? Love God above all, and your neighbor as yourself. I mean, that's a great principle for social teaching. This is the law and the prophets, Christ says, which means it's everything that's ever been written in the law, and everything any prophet has ever said is summed up in love God above all and love your neighbor as yourself. If you want social justice, if you want to eradicate homelessness, you want an equitable wage, If you don't want a huge state government to steal your hard-earned money, whatever, the left, the right, everything, love God above all and love neighbor as self is a baseline 00 first foundation, of course. If our society really put God first and looked at every other person as a brother and sister in Christ and made in the image likeness of God, and I want for them what I want for myself. I want security and happiness, goodness. Let me help them achieve that. We'd have a great society, but we don't have those things. What more specifically, what are the 10 points of social justice, Catholic social justice, Catholic social teaching, whatever you want to call it? Here they are. I'm just going to boom, 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 and I'm going to focus on 2. So 00, Matthew 22, 36 through 40, 0A, or 01. Number 1, the dignity of the human person. Here are the 10 points. They're very kind of cliche sounding, kind of general, but okay. 10 points of Catholic social teaching. 1, dignity of the human person to the common good. 3, solidarity. We're all in it together. 4, preferential option for the poor. Number 5, stewardship of creation. Number 6, subsidiarity. Whatever can be done at a local level should be. Number 7, participation, the right of everyone to participate in their society. 8, rights and responsibilities. 9, economic justice. 10, peace. With 10, we can say Matthew chapter 5, Sermon on the Mount, blessed are the peacemakers. Once more, just super fast. Dignity of the human person, common good, solidarity, preferential option for the poor, stewardship of creation, subsidiarity, participation, rights and responsibilities, economic justice, peace. A lot of things specifically, I say socioeconomic, this is an economic document, Rerum Novarum. This is trying to find perhaps a third way between outright communism and kind of hyper-capitalistic, I invented the game Monopoly to monopolize everyone out of existence. Sherman Antitrust Act, 1890s this time, the kind of like the robber baron class against that. These 10 points. But 0B, before I finally get to reading Leo the 13th's document, subsidiarity and solidarity are the 2 great principles of Catholic social teaching. Done. Get out of here, you don't have a great life. Subsidiarity and solidarity. All of Catholic social teaching, I would argue actually, and I'm not a theologian, but I would argue, if someone wanted my opinion, that you really should combine the law and the prophets to love God above all and love neighbors yourself with subsidiarity and solidarity, and you're good to go. It's amazing. Because what is the great law of love God above all and love neighbors yourself? As you said, Loretta, last week, not just faith, hope, and love, faith, hope, and charity, caritas, this divine love, this love of God for his own sake and love of neighbor out of love of God. So if you combine that divine love, caritas, that God infused by the grace of God love into subsidiarity and solidarity, it's just absolutely let's go. It's Liddyville. It's Liddyville 100%. So what does solidarity mean? Solidarity is understandable. Solidarity means we are all in it together. It's the recognition that we talk about the common destination of all goods, whatever, that kind of thing. We all share the earth, share the world. We're all a human family. That's what solidarity means. Please remember every action that you have. When you flip someone off in traffic, right? There's some kind of like domino effect there. True, right? Oh man, it's so cheesy. Please punch me when someone's like, why don't you walk? When you walk down the street, just smile at someone. Try it. Oh, it's disgusting. It's like, no, maybe they're right. Maybe they're actually right. That one smile can trigger a domino effect. They smile, they're nice, whatever. That maybe makes that person's day and they were despairing before. Who knows? Solidarity is that we're all in it together. Of course, it's an economic document about responsibilities of employers, employees, for the good of the polis, the kind of integrated, body politic, whatever. But subsidiarity is a very cool one. Because if solidarity seems like, oh, does that go to like one world government and all this kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. No. Subsidiarity, Catholics always believe what should be done locally should be done locally, period. Local, like co-ops, the local groups. If you're the mayor of Moscow, like that is your responsibility, not all of Idaho. Like focus local. If we have a dispute in town, I shouldn't go call up the governor. I should talk to keep it local. So it's very interesting and even hilarious. The church, which is the universal church, the church Christ founded against which the gates of hell will not prevail, and she subsists in all ages, is indefectible, is universally spread out from her base in Rome, is all about localism. We shouldn't want big government, huge government involvement. I shouldn't every single time something happens call up Trump or before call up Biden or call up Obama or Bush. Like we should focus on our not even the president. We should focus not even on the governor. It should be the local people. That's, of course, very much a political argument, but economically too. I'm not criticizing big box stores, how great or terrible Walmart is or Home Depot or whatever. Like, no comment. But it's like, sure, the principle of subsidiarity might say like we should support a local baker, local hardware stores, whatever. That's your community. It's people you know. Not just have some dude fly in from Chicago and like whatever. Like keep it local. So it's the balance of subsidiarity and solidarity. We are all in it together. It is the broad universalism. We're all brothers and sisters in Christ. We should love each other, love God above all, love our neighbors yourself. We also should be subsidiaries. Keep it local. In fact, some of the most successful businesses are those that hire local, are involved in their community, right? And know everyone knows everyone. It's the mom and pop kind of thing. Malcolm Gladwell is a kind of social commentator, wrote a thing about, in one of his books, I think it was in Outliers or Tipping Point, I forget which one, but talked about the town of Roseto is so tight-knit in Pennsylvania and everyone's healthy there and there's low instances of heart disease and whatever because they're all a real tight-knit community. They actually do the bowling league and the women have their knitting clubs and like that kind of thing. That's subsidiarity. That's freaking awesome, right? Should I mention Liddyville again? No, I just did. I just did mention it again. By asking if I should mention it. It's like I'm never going to say blank, blank, blank again while you say it, right? Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. I want to complete this thought, have a punchline. There's none. I don't know. Let's just start reading Pope Leo. So we're going to read the first 32 chapters today. 32 things. We're not going to read them word for word. I've excerpted out stuff. Let's just talk about what he says. As always, from the horse's mouth. What does he say? What does he say about on new things? What does he say about Catholic social justice? Again, very loaded term in modern parlance. What does he say about this? So number 1. Chapter 1, he wants it read openly, right? Because, and he wants people to dive into what he's going to say, because the social labor question is consuming the attention of all the world. All right, we've talked about that already. This is a very kind of like relevant topic. Every kind of influencer today is consumed by relevance. It's actually very obnoxious. Like something happens, I gotta comment on it. I gotta talk about it. This is very, very kind of relevant, right? Pope Leo opened Twitter and saw everyone's talking about the worker question. And so he's like, I'm going to write an encyclical. Number 2, chapter 2, he's going to discuss the condition of the working class and the mutual duties of the rich and the poor, capital and labor. It's an all-inclusive kind of thing, okay? So right off the bat, his aim is to talk about all these things. Let's get something out off the bat right away. Am I going to tell you how I feel about capitalism and communism? So absolutely not. He is way harsher on communism in this than capitalism. That's just a fact. I hate, what do you call it, capitalism. I'm actually a member of the Communist Party. That's why I named it CCP. I'm USSR. Fine. Again, I'm being obviously, I'm being sarcastic. Whether I like don't like that or et cetera or whatever, I'm actually the most robber baron guy. My hero is, I named all my kids Vanderbilt because that's my goal, to like, to be like Vanderbilt and Carnegie, the 19th century, barons and Rockefeller oil. If I'm hyper capitalist, hyper communist, my opinion counts for literally nothing, right? The only person who cares about my opinion is Pope Leo. So I mean, like, you decide if that matters or not. But my opinion counts for nothing. I'm just here to say what the Pope, Leo XIII, talked about. And just to be very clear before we start this, he's much more critical of communism. But he's also critical of capitalism. So you see, our friends on the left will say, oh, he hates capitalism and communism because they want to condemn both equally. No, he's more critical towards communism. But our friends on the right, like, he loves capitalism. He's definitely saying communism is worse. But I would really say what comes out of this starts with a D.
Distributism.
Thank you. You guys are freaking awesome. Anyone did, like 96 people answered at one time. It's awesome. What is the sound of 96 hands clapping? Distributism, yeah, which is really influenced with our boy, GKC, right? G.K. Chesterton from last class. I want to continue that line. My boy, my dog, my homie. I want to get people really offended. How dare you? How dare you be so informal and on friendly terms with Chesterton? You guys don't even understand. Chesterton is my boy, okay? I'm making a rap song featuring GKC, my dog, D-A-W-G. Distributism is associated with G.K. Chesterton, Hilaire Belloc. Exactly. If you want a good modern economist talking about distributism, John Maddai. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Medaille. John Maddai. He's super modern. He's as modern as I am, as you are, as we are. Like, he's alive now. He's, I think, fairly even young. He might be like early 50s, 40s. I don't know. But John Maddai writes a lot about kind of distributist thought in the modern world, obviously the postmodern world, of the world of 2026. Well, let's get that out right off the bat. He talked about what he's going to do here. He's going to be critical of both, looking for a third way. People jump on this as distributism. Heinrich Pesch is a great economist of the early 20th century, really very, very influential with Quadragesimo Anno later on in 40 years, 1931. But I think the ground has been sufficiently laid. Let's just go now for the remainder of the last half hour, 35 minutes, where I'm just reading just from the Pope and commenting on that. Chapter 3. In any case, we clearly see, and on this there is general agreement, some opportune remedy must be found quickly for the misery and wretchedness pressing on the majority of the working class. For the ancient workmen's guilds were abolished in the last century, and no other protective organization took their place. Public institutions and laws set aside the ancient religion. Hence, by degrees, it has come to pass that working men have surrendered, isolated and helpless, to the hard-heartedness of employers and the greed of unchecked competition. Okay, so right away, it's not like, oh yeah, just, become Gordon Gekko, right? The hard-heartedness of employers and the greed of unchecked competition. The mischief has been increased by rapacious usury. Church has always condemned usury, which, although more than once condemned by the church, is nevertheless under a different guise, but with like injustice still practiced by covetous and grasping men. To this must be added the hiring of labor and the conduct of trade are concentrated in the hands of comparatively few, so that a small number of very rich men have been able to lay upon the teeming masses of the laboring poor a yoke little better than that of slavery itself. So right away, he's criticizing kind of hyper, uncontrolled, unchecked capitalism. Greed is good, Wolf of Wall Street type stuff. But then he's going to roast the socialists. Chapter 4. To remedy these wrongs, the socialists, working on the poor man's envy of the rich, are striving to do away with private property and contend that individual possessions should become the common property of all, to be administered by the state or by the municipal bodies. He hates this. Pope Leo, spoiler, hates this. He's like, not only is this stupid, this is utopian and dumb, the working man will be the first to suffer, he says. They are, moreover, emphatically unjust, for they would rob the lawful possessor, distort the functions of the state, and create utter confusion in the community. Chapter 5. It is surely undeniable that when a man engages in remunerative labor, the impelling reason and motive of his work is to obtain property, and thereafter to hold as his very own. So, he's against hyper-capitalism, robber baron stuff, but the socialists not only have bad answers, they have no answers whatsoever, he says. And their worst answer off the bat, he says, is the rejection of private property. Why is he will call private property this inviolable, this really important, not to ever be trifled with, sine qua non, essential. Why is private property important? Pope Leo says. Is it important? Or should we abolish private property? What do you guys think?
He's basically saying that if a man is striving for something, he should have something that he has earned through his striving and something that he can pass down to his children. Exactly.
That's what he says that's perfect, in these subsequent chapters. I'm calling them chapters. They're entries, whatever you want to call them. The numbers there, chapters, sections. I'm going to keep calling them chapters. I'm just going to FYI. I don't want someone, talked earlier about the form, I don't want someone watching this to be intimidated. This is like 900 pages long. It's not. It's like maybe 15 pages or whatever, print the whole thing out. You have the thin booklet right there. How long is your booklet? Like 40? 54 pages, yeah. The chapters are just the kind of indents, the entries. Yeah, exactly. This is the classic critique of communism / socialism. If there's no reward, no goal, why would I work for it? Like, why would I, imagine if you went to the weight room and you really lifted hard and you just couldn't get stronger. For whatever reason, this is a stupid example. You understand? You wouldn't go to the weight room. I'm going there to get stronger, to get more fit, to attain certain goals. If it's literally doing nothing, there's no point. Like if I'm like on this great artist, like to build stuff, and every night someone comes and destroys my building, the state comes in and just crushes my art. I'm not going to spend the next day doing this again and again and again. It's not worth it. There has to be a goal, a reward. You look at the idea of like a lot of public parks in small towns that are owned by no one look like trash. I wonder why. But someone's private park on their thing looks nice because, I want to keep it nice for my kids or whatever. But, it's not mine. Yeah, I'll just like affix bubble gum, whatever stuff to it. Yeah, this is very classic. One of Pope Leo's main arguments in this first section is we can't change human nature. We have a fallen human nature. He'll say at one point, life is best lived when you accept it as it is. When you accept that this class fundamentally is Liddyville, then you can get on with living your life. But if you have these utopian, crazy ideas, it does not work. The goal of work, he says, is not only remuneration, getting paid for your work. I know what the word means, I can't pronounce it. The goal of the work is not only remuneration, but also disposal of such remuneration, just as he pleases. Socialists, therefore, by endeavoring to transfer the possession of individuals to the community at large, strike at the interests of every wage earner, since they would deprive him of the liberty of disposing his wages, and thereby of all hope and possibility of increasing his resources, bettering his condition. You said that, like the cliff notes, spark notes of that. The goal of work is to earn money and better my station in life and dispose of it as I like. If that's all taken away, then why am I working? Number 6, what is of far greater moment, however, is the fact that the remedy they propose is manifest against justice. The remedy being no private property. For every man has by nature the right to possess property as his own. Listen again, if someone tells you the Catholic Church is against private property or whatever, quote, every man has by nature the right to possess property as his own. And then he compares us to animals. Remember, we are angels and animals. We have this immortal soul made in the image likeness of God. And our bodies too, praise God, ever since the incarnation, praise Christ, also made in the image and likeness of God. But yeah, we have our animal instincts, we have animal desires. I am fulfilling the animal desire now of taste bud engagement by drinking this coffee. It's very delicious. You guys support Monica's here. If you don't support Monica's, again, you're dead to me. Don't ever speak to me. We are animals, but animals are only driven by two. Animals are only driven by two things, right? And how dare you? Animals. It's actually really good coffee, though. It's really good coffee. I won't mention what brand it is. It's Starbucks. Animals are driven by two things, he says, right? Self-preservation and propagation of species. So are we. But what separates us, we always hear what separates us from the animals. Here's another thing. The idea of self-direction, planning. In this, man is wholly different. He possesses on the one hand the full perfection of the animal being, and hence enjoys at least as much as the rest of the animal kind the fruition of things material. But, right, he also wants to hold things in stable and permanent possession. He must not only have things that perish in the use, but also those which, though they have been reduced into use, continue for further use in after time. We, like the animals, self-propagate and preserve ourselves. We're driven by that, but we're also driven by the idea not of hoarding, not of being Ebenezer Scrooge, but of saving for our children, giving our children a better life than we had. I work at the iron, plant. What was iron called? Iron Works? What was an iron thing? The iron factory? The smelter. I'm a smelter. I'm an iron guy. That shows I've never obviously worked a job like this in my life. I do iron stuff. If you work, the classic story, the person like breaking their back, doing manual labor, it's for the purpose of saving for my kids so they can go to college, the classic American dream story, that kind of thing. And then this separates us from the animals. The socialist, Leo is saying, is trying to reduce us to animals. All you need is just to propagate and have your daily satiation. Like, here's your food, here's your food allowance, or whatever your thing, and just live for today. Kind of this bad version of carpe diem. Yeah.
I was say socialists say from each according to your abilities, to each according to your needs. The problem is who decides what your needs are.
Yeah, it's the state, exactly. And that's what he's going to criticize. Remember, that strikes against the problem of subsidiarity. Pope Leo, the Catholic Church, is against one world government type huge, massive state organizations, nameless, faceless bureaucrats, these kind of cliche stereotypes. But yeah, it's like, no, you should have a local involvement, a local distribution, the distributive economy was best explained to me once that they want to multiply private property as widely as possible. Like multiply the co-op models as possible. Everyone should be a small business owner, king of their own household. So we're against the massive monopoly, like huge big box store buying up all the mom and pops. Who cares? Haha. I'm laughing all the way to the bank. Against the kind of hyper-capitalistic abuses, he says, but also against the abolishments of private property, whatever. Yes, Brad.
Well, you're talking about one world stuff. I wonder what the deal is with that deal down that cafe down on the corner.
One World Cafe.
One World Cafe. I was wondering about that.
Yeah. Imagine all the people, right? I can imagine going in there. That song's just playing on loop 24/7. Living for today. But no one ever can hit the high note of that song, including myself.
You get some unicorns and some rainbows going in the background. Are unicorns real or not? Like, serious question. Like, are unicorns real?
Yes.
Like, so
Old
if
school Old school unicorns.
What are old school unicorns?
Like the ones that had a beard and like goat hoofs instead of, like medieval unicorns.
Well, what if you own a horse and you just put like a horn on it? Like, does that count?
Pre-diluvian.
Yeah, exactly.
Pre-diluvian, one horse, old school unicorns.
Rhinoceros getting kind of close.
Rhinoceros. Brad King is always just dropping like truth to power here. A rhinoceros is a unicorn. It really is.
Narwhals.
Narwhals, yeah.
Narwhals, unicorn of the sea.
Well, who would win a fight, a platypus or narwhal?
They
Like,
can
who'd-
self-correct their diet though, so they gain too much weight. Maybe.
I feel like we're coming up with a lot of really great points here. He talks about narwhals in footnote 11 of this encyclical. All right, so man's needs do not die out, but forever recur. Although satisfied today, they demand fresh supplies for tomorrow. This is very important, chapter 7. And this stable condition of things he finds solely in the fruit, in the earth and its fruits. Very Benedictine, ora et labora, the monk model. How can man be free, distributist, against hyper-capitalism and socialist abuses? Farmers. This stable condition of things he finds solely in the earth and its fruits. There is no need to bring in the state. There is no need to bring in the state. Quote, man precedes the state and possesses prior to the formation of any state the right of providing for the substance of his body. He will also say there's an older unit than the state community, the family. The family and the individual precede the state, right? Number 8, the fact that God has given the earth for its use and enjoyment of the whole human race can in no way be a bar to owning private property, for God has granted the earth to mankind in general. And man deserves, the men and women who work the earth deserve the fruit of their labor, is the point here. And he says, number 9, here again we have further proof private ownership is according to the law of nature. Truly that which is required for the preservation of life, for life's well-being, is providing great abundance from the soil, but not until man has brought into cultivation, extended upon it his solicitude and skill. Why do you deserve to own the small plot of land, the half acre that you till and farm? Because you have transformed it. Let's note now, please star this forever, labor is the source of all value. Labor is the source of all. If all of us become Instagram influencers and Wall Street traders and are just moving stuff around, nothing gets produced. And the product, to the victor go the spoils, to the producer go the rewards. I made strawberry ice cream. I'm selling it now. That would imply that I have cows. I know how to milk cows. I know how to treat the milk for the cream, add the right ingredients. I know how to grow strawberries and bring all those things in this product called strawberry ice cream. Labor is a source of all value. Labor is a source of all value. And if you labor the land, number 10, you transformed it by your labor, then you, by justice, have a right to that. It is unjust for you to work as a serf/slave and the state just to come in and take all your stuff, as Stalin does with the kulaks, the collectivization of the farms in the Soviet Union.
Well, the private property thing in the early Americas, they had different groups, and they did it kind of on a collective basis, and everything kind of went downhill. So the guy decided, well, hey, we'll give each person their own place, and they bust their tails and work it and feed themselves,
right?
And everything started to.
100%. 100%. Yeah. If you have a vested interest in a reward that you get from that, it's an obvious thing that will.
Socialism to capitalism.
Okay, what would he think of like the podcasters and the Instagram people and all that getting wealthy over the type of thing they do?
Yeah, I don't know. What would the Pope say about podcasters, influencers getting wealthy concerning what they do? Honestly, it's a great open question. I don't know. Like, wow, such scumbag work. It's so stupid. Or actually, look at Bishop Barron on the forefront of evangelization and that kind of stuff. I don't know. There's pro and con. Depends what you're selling, right? Depends what you're promoting, good or bad. That's definitely number one. It's the content. And I'm not against intellectual work. I am an intellectual worker. I'm a professor. Like, that's my job. I'm a writer. Like, I'm not a farmer. I'm not an iron guy. I couldn't even say what that is before, like iron factory or iron.
You get to milk the cows right away.
Well, I do have 5 chickens. Chickens are. I wanted to like lie and be like they're hard. They're not hard to take care of at all. They're super easy. They're like no maintenance whatsoever. My chickens love me though. This is awesome. Like, do I get like validation from that? 100%. I go out there and they squawk and balk, and then I pick them up. I pick them up and they're basically like, pet me on the head gently, and I do that. It's awesome. So I'm basically a farmer. That's what I'm trying to say. I basically invented farming. I'm wearing a blue suit because I am a blue collar worker.
Hey, my chickens start shoveling their waste.
Chickens basically, chickens like call for their own like,
They are bad.
yeah, they call for like the city to open up a whole new like waste disposal department for sure. That's 100% true. Yeah, first of all, the chickens, that's so unladylike of them, it's terrible. They're the worst. So he says here, that which has thus altered and improved the land becomes so truly part of itself as to be in great measure indistinguishable and inseparable from it. It is just that the fruit of a man's own sweat and labor, is it just that the fruit of a man's own sweat and labor should be possessed and enjoyed by anyone else? As effects follow their cause, so it is just and right that the results of labor should belong to those who have bestowed their labor. Yeah, right? Amen. If you worked it, if you did it, you deserve the reward. You guys have been, on point with all your comments as always, saying that precisely. Number 11, with reason then, the common opinion of mankind, little affected by the few dissidents who have contended for the opposite view, have found in careful study of nature and the laws of nature the foundation of the division of property. And the authority of the divine law as its sanction, forbidding us in severest terms even to covet that which is another's. Quote, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his house, nor his field, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is his. Two huge problems of socialism: the complete lack of willingness to work, 100%. Everything is owned by everyone and whatever, and I get no special reward. I'm not gonna, whatever, I'll just chill. But then the kind of covetous attitude. I just can't wait for this government to nationalize the oil here, because I hate that guy has a lot of money. I want his stuff. I want to use his property. There's this kind of like, this transgressive aspect to it too. You guys want to know? I know you guys want to know. Say something cool about Mamdani, the New York mayor. Tell me something good about Mamdani. No, you're saying no. People have been saying say something cool about him. Oh, he's fairly stylish. That's pretty cool. He's pretty stylish. I'd give his like GQ rating like 7.1 out of 10. He's fairly stylish. What my favorite thing about Mamdani is he's a rapper. You guys know this? Here's my advice for you: look up Mr. Cardamon. That's his rap name. His music sucks. His music's trash, but it's cool that he's a rapper. But I'm not a huge fan of his music. But it's funny because his opponents were trying to like make him look bad. And if you don't like socialism and communism, then all you have to do is just show his policies, and like his policies are terrible. If you're on the the opposing side, that should be enough. But they actually made him look cooler. They're like, wow, this is so bad that he's a rapper. It's like, that's actually like, you guys know like the audience, like people like that. Like he's an artist. I don't know. I'll do it every class. I'll tell you one thing nice about Zoran Mamdani. He's a rapper. Once more, chapter 12, family is more important, antecedent to the state. Okay? That's super, super important. Catholics, again, are not big government, one world order type stuff. They are subsidiaries, local, the authority of the parents, the father, the family household, and the individual. Every man and woman and child is precious, made in the image likeness of God. They can't be pawns in some larger kind of game. Pawns of a communist state or pawns of a capitalist hyper-oligarch monopoly, whatever it is. Whatever it is, we are not pawns, we are people. That's my slogan when I run for government. We are people, not pawns.
What that leads towards an antidote to socialism is faith, family, and culture.
Yeah, right. There's rooted traditional stuff. Yeah. Exactly. Number 12, the rights here spoken of belonging to each individual man are seen in much stronger light when considered in relation to man's social and domestic obligations. In choosing a state of life, it is indisputable that all are at full liberty to follow the counsel of Jesus Christ as observing virginity, or bind themselves by the marriage tie. No human law can abolish the natural and original right of marriage, nor in any way limit the chief and principal purpose of marriage, ordained by God's authority from the beginning, increase and multiply. Hence we have the family, the society, quote, of a man's house. A society very small, one must admit, but nonetheless a true society, and one older than any state. Consequently, has rights and duties peculiar to itself, which are quite independent of the state. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Your family, you remember distributism, this third way between capitalism and communism, is aimed at distributing private property as widely as possible. Private property, we learned from Leo XIII, an inviolable right, a necessary condition of true freedom and flourishing. Everyone having their own little plot of land, like their own little family, where the mother and father and the children, all the kind of that tight-knit authority unit, that is older than the state, more important than the state, and independent in the state. And the state should not get involved in those matters, he's saying. Okay. We finished 12. We might not even get to 32 today. We're almost out of time, which is totally fine. Next class, we won't talk about Louisville. We won't do a 10-minute preamble about, important preamble, but about Matthew 22:36. We did a lot of stuff outside. Next, we'll just dive right in, which is totally fine. If needs must, they must not. They need not, must. They do not. We have two classes. If it were the case that needs must, we could have covered this whole encyclical in one class, certainly. And I could have, instead of going slowly through it as we're doing, just gave you the whole gist or whatever. I could cover it in 5 minutes, or we can do 5 hours on it. As it is, we're doing one more class, so we no need to hurry. It's 47 right now. We'll go to about 55, 8 more minutes, and wherever we finish, we'll just finish the rest next class. But what's fun is when next class, again, there'll be no preambles. We'll just be right into the text. Number 13, a family is a true society. The right to property, therefore, which has been proved to belong naturally to individual persons, must and likewise belong to a man in his capacity of head of a family. Nay, that right is all the stronger in proportion as the human person receives a wider extension of the family group. It is a most sacred law of nature that a father should provide food and all necessities for those whom he has begotten. And similarly, it is natural that he should wish that his children, who carry on, so to speak, and continue his personality, should be provided with all that is needed to enable them to keep themselves decently from want and misery amid the uncertainties of this mortal life. Reading, if you ever read Brave New World, everyone belongs to everyone. State hatcheries, where people are basically the lower class, slave class, is cloned into existence. No big daddy state stuff. We are supposed to, as Catholics, be like the parents. And a father who labors hard to provide for his family, of course, wants his progeny to benefit, not just the random state. I'll give it to the state fund, whatever kind of stuff. Once more, for economic justice, all this kind of stuff, the necessity of the family unit, the family ties. 14, the contention that the civil government should, at its option, intrude into and exercise intimate control over the family and the household is a great and pernicious error. For this is not to deprive citizens of their rights, but justly and properly to safeguard and strengthen them. What is the point of the state, he says? The whole point of the state is to safeguard and strengthen rights, antecedent to the state. And we love this as Americans. We love this. Let's have as small government as possible, minimal laws only there to keep the peace so people can thrive and be who God intended them to be. This is very, Pope Leo is like literally just right now releasing screaming bald eagles and ordering the Vatican to fire off 1 million fireworks. It's 4th of July, by the way. This is such an American point, right? The point of the state is not to deprive citizens of their rights, micromanage them, whatever. No, it is to justly and properly safeguard rights like the family that are antecedent to the state. Paternal authority can neither be abolished nor absorbed by the state, for it is the same source as human life itself. 15. It is only too evident what an upset and disturbance there would be in all classes, and how intolerable and hateful a slavery citizens would be subjected if these socialist policies became rampant. The door would be thrown open to envy, to mutual incentive, discord, etc., and the sources of wealth themselves would run dry. This is the point you all talked about before. The sources of wealth themselves would run dry, for no one would have any interest in exerting his talents or his industry. And that ideal equality about which they entertain pleasant dreams would in reality be the leveling down of all to a like condition of misery and degradation. Sure. If there's no incentive, I went to medical school for 10 years. I did not. It's hypothetical. I always say never take medical advice from me. But if I did, and I become chief of neurosurgery, it's like I want to be paid accordingly. Duh. It's just hard to do this. It's a very stressful job. But if it's like, no, you could just not work and get the same money. Well, actually, I'd like not to work. Go figure. Number 16. We approach the subject with confidence in the exercise of the rights which manifestly appertain to us. For no practical solution to the question we found apart from the intervention of religion and of the church. It is we who are the chief guardian of religion, chief dispenser of what pertains to the church, and by keeping silence we would seem to neglect the duty incumbent upon us. We affirm without hesitation that all the striving of men will be in vain if they leave out the church. He's like, we need the popes. These have talked about this throughout the ages. The idea of like the church is the soul of society. What happens when the soul leaves the body? It's called death. One of the main problems with these communist prescriptions are they're not only leave out God, they're anti-God. And it's like, well, good luck, man. You can't change human nature. We're greedy and selfish, and I'm going to get mine by nature. So if you're like, no God, no transcendent laws, none of this foundation, 00, Matthew 22:36-40, love God above all, other neighbors yourself, none of that. Just do your own thing. People are not going to play nice. Because he says, number 17, right? Who will doubt this? There naturally exists among mankind manifold differences in the most important kind. People differ in capacity, skill, health, strength. Okay, so what do you happen when you just abolish God? We're not going to have God's law. You get a Nietzschean Darwinistic alpha society. And really strong people just do whatever they want. It's the will to power. This is the lesson of the 20th century, the will to power. When you banish God from public life and say morality is a fiction, well, then the strong don't do whatever they want. And the weak just endure what they must. And you get a very classic kind of each man for himself that does not end up good for 98% of people. For 2%, it's amazing. I mean, if you're like super jacked, 6'4", with a 200 IQ, and you've got 55 bodyguards in a compound and all this, fine, that's great. That's an awesome society. And you just have no restraints you can get. But the vast majority of people, if you cared all about the common good, this dog eat dog, hyper, and here where again, it goes back to this earlier criticism of capitalism, it's kind of hyper monopoly, just buy everyone out, make as much cash as possible, short sell, hostile takeover of companies, whatever, that kind of just rapacious Darwinistic stuff. It doesn't end up good for the vast, vast majority of people. We need the church because we are not equal, actually. All men are created equal. Praise God. God loves everyone equally. God died for everyone equally. For God so loved the world. John 3:16. We are equal in the eyes of God and equal in the potentiality of our salvation, etc. But in terms of natural abilities, it's not even a point worth discussing, right? It's refuted immediately by the fact not everyone is 6 feet tall or 5'11". They're the whole spectrum of different heights, right? Up to 7'6" and 4'2" and whatever. And about intelligence, if you take an IQ test, people get different results. People aren't each given 117.1 IQ or something like this. Is obvious. So if you just abolish any kind of restraints and morality and just say each their own, that ends up bad for the vast, vast majority of people. And the church can never support that. 18. In like manner, the other pains and hardship of life will have no end or cessation on earth. For the consequences of sin are bitter and hard to bear. Nothing is more useful than to look upon the world as it really is, at the same time to seek elsewhere as we have for the solace to its troubles. Stop being utopian. We live in a fallen world. It sucks. Life is beautiful, but we live in a fallen world. Accept life as it is. Avoid the poison of utopian fantasies. Let me just read the last two things. We'll stop for today. We'll stop after 20. I'm going to read these verbatim with no comment. We're going to stop at number 20. It'll save us 40 entries for next time. It's fine because we're not going to do any kind of preambles. But just listen, and we'll stop at 20. 19. Just as the symmetry of the human frame is the result of the suitable arrangement of different parts of the body, so in a state is ordained by nature. These two classes should dwell in harmony and agreement, so as to maintain the balance of the body politic. Each needs the other, capital and labor. Capital cannot do without labor, nor labor without capital. And remember, labor is the source of all values. Mutual agreement results in the beauty of good order, while perpetual conflict necessarily produces confusion, savage barbarity. Now, in preventing such strife as this and uprooting it, the efficacy of Christian institutions is marvelous and manifold. First of all, there is no intermediary more powerful than religion, whereof the church is the interpreter and guardian, in drawing the rich and the working class together, by reminding each of its duties to the other, and especially the obligations of justice. 20. Of these duties, the following bind the proletarian and the worker: fully and faithfully to perform the work which has been freely and equitably agreed upon, never to injure the property, nor to outrage the person of an employer, never to resort to violence in defending their own cause, nor to engage in riot or disorder, and to have nothing to do with men of evil principles, who work upon the people with artful promises of great results and excite foolish hopes which usually end in useless regret and grievous loss. The following duties bind the wealthy owner and the employer: not to look upon their work people as their bondsmen, but to respect in every man his dignity as a person ennobled by Christian character. They are reminded that according to natural reason and Christian philosophy, working for gain is creditable, not shameful to a man, since it enables him to earn an honorable livelihood. But to misuse men as though they were things in the pursuit of gain, or to value them solely for their physical powers, that is truly shameful and inhuman. Again, justice demands that in dealing with the working man, religion and the good of his soul must be kept in mind. Hence, the employer is bound to see that the worker has time for his religious duties, that he not be exposed to corrupting influences and dangerous occasions, that he not be led away to neglect his home and family, or to squander his earnings. Furthermore, the employer must never tax his work people beyond their strength, or to employ them in work unsuited to their sex and age. His great and principal duty is to give everyone what is just. His great and principal duty is to give everyone what is just. Doubtless, before deciding whether wages are fair, many things have to be considered. The wealthy owners and all masters of labor should be mindful of this, that to exercise pressure upon the indigent and the destitute for the sake of gain, and to gather one's profit out of the need of another is condemned by all laws, human and divine. To defraud any one of the wages that are his due is a great crime, which cries to the avenging anger of heaven. Behold, the hire of the laborers, which by fraud has been kept back by you, crieth, and the cry of them hath entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabbath. Lastly, the rich must religiously refrain from cutting down the workman's earnings, whether by force, by fraud, or by usurious. Remember, he criticized usury in the opening thing. By force, by fraud, or by usurious dealing. And with all greater reason, because the laboring man is, as a rule, weak and unprotected, and because his slender means should, in proportion to their scantiness, be accounted sacred. So we're done at chapter 20. We have 42 left, but again, with no preambles. Until next week, part 2 of Rerum Novarum. See you guys then.